What is food? Food is any edible substance taken into the body, digested and absorbed by the body, and used for maintaining life without damaging body tissues. What is nutrition? Nutrition is the study of food and its relationship to health. Let's look at the classification according to the function of food. First of all, we're going to look at bodybuilding food. This food causes growth and repairs of worn out tissues or damaged tissues. The type of nutrient for this purpose is protein. Then we're going to look at protective food. Protected food is the one responsible for strengthening the immune system. So the nutrients responsible for strengthening the immune system and the body in general are vitamins and minerals, or what we call mineral salts. Then we look at energy-giving food. Energy-giving food is responsible for giving energy to the body, which is self-explanatory. So we are going to look at the nutrients. So the nutrients responsible for the availability of energy in the body are carbohydrates and fats. Then our bodies need water and fiber as well. Now we're going to look at the nutrients in detail. The first one are going to be carbohydrates. We have examples such as sugars and saccharides. Saccharides are divided into many types. We have monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. And examples of those are glucose, cellulose, glycogen, and starch, and any of the like. And the next point is they are found in food like potatoes, sadza, cassava, and bread, and any of the like. These carbohydrates are made up of the chemical elements carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. And for example, we have glucose that has the molecular formula C6H12O6. The C6 means we have 6 carbons in the molecule. If you count on the diagram on the right, you see we have 6 carbons. Some are hidden in the skeletal structure. And then we have H12, which means we have 12 hydrogens, and then we have 6 oxygens. The next point is the hydrogen and the oxygen atoms are in the ratio 2 hydrogen atoms to 1 oxygen atom, making the empirical formula CH2O, which means we would have divided the C6H12O6 by 6. Then the next point is glucose is a simple sugar, and it is the building block of all other carbohydrates. For example, glycogen is broken down to glucose when adrenaline is released in the body, so it's broken down into the building block, which is glucose. Then we'll look at proteins. First point is protein is found in food like dairy products, meat, and beans. The elements present in proteins are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Then the building blocks of protein are called amino acids. For example, we have lysine, which is C6H14, N2, and O2, and glycine, which is C2H5, N, and O2. So we have 2 carbons, 5 hydrogens, 1 nitrogen atom, and then we have 2 oxygens. You can see that in the diagram on the right for glycine, which is clearly labeled. Now we're going to look at fats. So fats are found in dairy products as well, and we have examples such as triglycerides, which is 55 carbons, 98 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens. And the next point says they contain carbon, hydrogen, and very small proportion of oxygen. So as we see with triglycerides, they have 6 oxygens compared to 98 hydrogens and 55 carbons. That's a very big margin. And triglycerides are made of glycerol and 3 other fatty acids, which make up that fat. And triglycerides are body fat. And we find the last point is small building blocks that make up fats are called fatty acids. Just correct where it says they, just put that. The small building blocks that make up fats are called fatty acids. And we have example which is stearic acid, and that's the structure there. Then we look at vitamin C. Vitamin C is also known as ascorbic acid, and it is water soluble, water with the common formula there, which is H2O. And the next point is for biologists, you can estimate the concentration of vitamin C in a certain volume of juice by the number of drops of the juice required to decolorize DCPIP. It's a very long name. It should be 2,6-dichlorophenol-lindophenol. If I got it correct, I think that's the correct name. That's DCPIP. So it's supposed to decolorize it, but the different juices, they decolorize after different various numbers of drops. So that's how you determine the concentration of the vitamin C that's inside the juice. And then the last point is vitamin C is found in citrus fruits, for example oranges and lemons. and they're also found in tomatoes and in fresh green vegetables. So now we look at vitamin D. So vitamin D is found in egg yolk, milk, cod liver. Cod is a type of a fish, not Call of Duty. And the exposure to sunlight, which helps to make vitamin D in the skin. Point 2 is it assists in promoting the absorption of calcium, which is a mineral salt. Then vitamin A is found in carrots and it helps with eyesight. Then we move on to mineral salts. Mineral salts are obtained in various forms, and examples are iron, calcium, iodine, and sodium. Sodium can be obtained from table salt, which is made up of the ionic compound called sodium chloride. So that's the common compound in table salt. And we have calcium, which can be obtained from milk and other dairy products. Then we have iron that can be obtained from liver, red meat, egg yolk, and spinach. And it helps with the formation of hemoglobin in red blood cells. And hemoglobin is red protein, which is responsible for transportation of oxygen in the blood. Now we look at water. Water is a colorless substance which contains the elements hydrogen and oxygen. Its famous chemical formula is H2O. So we have 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen in the molecule. And the next one is fiber. We have an example which is cellulose, which is a carbohydrate made up of glucose. And cellulose is found, we can extract it from plant leaves. This is why you find when we looked at atoms in our chemistry video, we looked at the cellulose cell wall. That's where we can extract the cellulose. And then the next point is fiber is found in fresh fruits and vegetables, yeah, like I said. And the next idea we need to look at is the balanced diet. So what is a balanced diet? It is a meal containing all nutrients in the correct proportion according to an individual's requirements. We're going to look at these requirements in a few moments. Now we're going to look at the sources of major nutrients. So to make it interesting, we've put some diagrams, we've put mind maps for each of the nutrients. And since 2022 is the year of nutrition, is Africa's year of nutrition, we've tried to put some African, to include some African languages there. So the first one we're going to look at is sugarcane, which is called nzimbe in Shona. We have potatoes, bananas. You'll find that I didn't put some African languages for some of those. I just don't know their translations, but we can go on. We have cassava, cereals, and their products, for example, rice, millet, and oats. We have honey, which is uchi, and we have fruits, which we call muchero. And the other carbohydrates can be found from the thick millet meal porridge, which is stiff, which we call sadza in Shona, fufu in the Nigerian language. There we have isichwala, which is Ndebele, and then we have ugali, which is Swahili. So the sources that are rich in fats are cooking oil, which we call mafuta kubikisa in Shona. Then we have lard. Lard is the pig's stomach fat. Yes. Then we have peanuts or groundnuts, which we call nzungu in Shona. And then margarine. Then we have round nuts, which we call nimo in Shona. Then we have butter. And then we have soya beans. So the other foods which are rich in protein are groundnuts, which we call nzungu or peanuts. Then eggs, which we call mazai in Shona. We have milk called mkaka in Shona. We have meat called nyama. Nyama is in different languages. We have mopani worms, which the scientific name is G. bellina. They're also called madora in Shona and amatrimbi in Ndebele. Then we have beans, which we call beanzi in Shona. And then we have lentils, which is protein pulp. So the sources that are rich in vitamins, we have fresh vegetables, which we call murio. If you look at the far left, we have those green vegetables, which we call maveji as well. And then that's Shona. And then we look at the top there, we have other fresh fruits, which we call mingwe michero in Shona. And then we have sunlight. The sun is called zuva in Shona. And then we have 100% fruit juice. It's also rich in vitamins. And then we have citrus fruits. We looked at that. We have milk. And then we have egg yolk. Milk, we also looked at it. It's for vitamin D as well as egg yolk. So with the foods that we have gathered so far, let us create the ideal plate, or what we can also call the Ituo plate. Some people call it the Ituo plate. So if we look, we have divided the plate into sectors, and some have big angles, some are small angles. It's just trying to show what we meant by proportions. Some are going to be in large quantities, and some of the foods are going to be in small quantities. For example, with carbohydrates, that's the largest quantity. We have bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, and other starchy foods, which are energy-giving foods. So energy-giving foods need to be in large quantities. Then we have milk and dairy foods, which are mineral salts. They're pretty average. And then we have fruits and vegetables, that's the second largest, which are basically protective foods, which are they give us vitamins. And then we have food and drinks high in fat and or sugar. Well, with that one we need to make it even smaller, because those are not very important. They actually may cause some problems in the long term, but yeah, you can also have them. Then we have the bodybuilding foods, which are proteins, and we have examples which are meat, eggs, beans, and other non-dairy sources of protein. So you can you can design your own ideal plate with the food that you eat at home, so you can make it interesting. And don't forget a glass of water, it's very important. So when we looked at the definition of a balanced diet, we saw that the diet needs to suit the requirements of an individual. So this is why we have this subtopic, which is dietary requirements. So the food we eat should be based on the following. So it's based on the age, it's based on the sex, the gender of the person, and is also based on the activity that the person does. So for the first point, we have for children below the age of 12, they need food which is rich in energy-giving nutrients because they are very active. And then they also need food rich in protein because they're still growing. They need more calcium and vitamin D for well-developed strong bones and teeth as well. Then for teenagers, they need, they have the highest calorie intake because they're very active in general. Then for pregnant and breastfeeding women, they need more calcium, iron, and folic acid. Folic acid is mainly for pregnant women. It helps with preventing complications during pregnancy. And then we have for adults, they need less energy-giving foods and less proteins for repairing worn-out tissues, and overall they just need a balanced diet with less calories. And for manual workers, we know they do a lot of work, so they need a lot of energy-giving foods as well. So finally, what is malnutrition and what are its effects? So malnutrition is a condition caused by feeding of food that is not composed of the right type and amount of nutrients in their correct proportions. Just a side note there, we have wrong feeding, which occurs in two common forms. The two common forms are overnutrition and undernutrition. Then we look at some examples of the effects of malnutrition. The first one is starvation. We're just going to look at a few. So the first one is starvation. Starvation is a state of extreme hunger which can lead to death, resulting from a lack of essential nutrients over a prolonged period of time. Then we have obesity, which is a condition of being overweight or very fat, which can be a result of overeating fats and carbohydrates. This condition can cause stroke, joint pain, high blood pressure, and heart attack, just to mention a few. Then the kwashiorkor is a deficiency disease caused by eating food which lacks protein but rich in carbohydrates. This can be linked to poverty or lack of knowledge. Children suffering from this disease are underweight and have swollen abdomen and thin limbs. And then we have that side note as well, which says there are other deficiency diseases like scurvy, which is due to the lack of vitamin C, rickets, which are due to the lack of calcium or vitamin D, and anemia, which is due to the lack of iron. Thank you for watching.